The intro.
You want me to dance or something?
Yeah.
What's my thing?
I didn't know you brought the ping pong balls.
I know. There's no pole.
I knew I would forget something. I'm sorry.
Forgot that.
So there was another faculty member who has since left HDFS, but we used to joke around if we really wanted to make some money, we needed to start pole dancing because teaching was not ed.
Sorry, I don't think
That
I'll
is a
be
great
much
way to segue right into telling us who you are.
So, yeah, so Kathy, why
So
don't you
Kathy.
continue on and
I know.
introduce yourself?
I never had that.
So confused.
Kathy, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do on campus.
I teach HDFS 240 Human Sexuality. I've been teaching that for, 17 years. That's a lot of sex. And I teach contemporary families in the U.S. I do presentations in resident halls. My Ask Dr. Sex column's coming back in January. I'm really excited about that. Do, campus presentations at the cultural center, sometimes at fraternities and sororities, stuff like that. That's pretty much all I do.
That's it.
That's it.
No big deal.
And my name is Melinda Shell. I am a health educator at Student Health Services, and I'm a generalist, so I oversee a few programs, including all of our sexual health programs. So I go out and do a lot of outreach on campus as well. I oversee, the condom hotspots and the condom express and all the things that we do sexual health related on campus. The MARS program, which is Male Advocates for Responsible Sexuality. We've got a representative from them on that. And Sex Chick. The reason why that is because a lot of times I'll go to places and people will either call me the condom lady or the sex chick. They never really remember my name. So we just went with that. We figured we'd just turn it into something a little spicy.
And a lot of times students don't remember my name. And I'm okay. And so I got that Dr. Sex name when I started writing the barometer column 13 years ago. Tell them more about the Condom Express.
Condom Express. Well, this gentleman in the back here, this is Scott, everybody. Wait. So, so a long time ago, I would deliver...
In a galaxy far, far away.
Right. I would deliver condoms for students on campus and some student athletes or whatever, and they would make special requests to me, and I would send them through campus mail because I didn't really feel like going around to deliver all these myself. So I got the name Special Delivery for a while. So I would kind of do that for a while, and as we were doing this condom hotspot program, we would get folks who would ask us questions about which of our hotspots were a little bit more anonymous, because I don't know if you noticed, but the one in the library, not only is it right out in the middle of plain view, but there's also a video surveillance camera over that one as well. So some of those places aren't as anonymous as some students would like them to be, and so we would get questions about, which ones were more anonymous. So I would let them know which ones were in the bathrooms at different places. So several of the cultural centers, as well as the women's center, have their condom hotspots in the restrooms. So those are a little more anonymous. So you can get them that way. But then there's still studies out there that show that embarrassment is a huge factor to stop people from getting condoms. And so I think, so Scott had the wonderful idea of actually creating a program where we would deliver condoms. Students would order a different package. We're having a contest to name the different packages right now. So if you're interested, like us on Facebook. Always do sexual health. And so they would order different packets, and then we would make them up, put them in a very nondescript package, and send them through campus mail. So it's nondescript until it gets to their mailbox, and then when they open it up, it's kind of like, so there's just all kinds of wonderful things pop out. And so we've started that program as well, and actually it has gone like hotcakes, I guess, for lack of a better word. So hotspots, hotcakes, maybe.
Did you say that your program is rising?
Yes, well, I guess it is.
Going like gangbusters.
So anyway, so that is the Condom Express. Just started the launch this fall. So does that answer that?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Well, I'm retired. I'm all out of this, but it doesn't sound
new at all. I used to be a nurse practitioner at OSU for close to 30 years. College health was my specialty. And I was the first person that went around campus with a wooden penis. That was right during the 80s when HIV became popular. And we accidentally got a wooden penis. That's the one.
Oh, are you happy to be reunited with your old friend?
No, he's circumcised. But, do you know his name?
Woody.
Woody. Do you know why his name is Woody?
Well, see, now I would say because he's made of wood, but
No.
you're going to come up with something different.
No, it's a true story. In the early days in Philomath High School, the health teachers were not allowed to discuss sex or birth control. So I was allowed to go out to high schools and talk because we hoped in the future that we would become Oregon State University students. And I asked the teacher to talk about abstinence because I was not going to talk about abstinence to teenagers. I felt I was not in touch with them. I don't know if she did or not, because I said, then I can talk about everything else. So on my first visit to Philomath High School, I brought Woody. But it didn't have a name, he didn't have a name yet, and I thought it was fun for teenagers to give him a name because I was getting pretty old already and gray haired and whatnot. Well, the vice principal's name was, Woody Bennett or something, and they called him Woody, and boy, did they love it, you know, after the vice principal.
They named the penis after the vice principal.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But after my fourth visit, so I went once a year, the public health department in town got a letter because a parent complained that I talked about contraception. Even though the parents had agreed that they could come, they didn't know I worked in student health, so I was never invited in.
What year
What year was
that?
that? Yeah, that's
Well, I don't know.
When did you?
In the late 90s, early 2000s.
No.
Yes, yeah.
They're even more strict now. I'm surprised actually that you got to go into the school.
Well, I think
we almost had to like sign our first board
Yeah.
away
Wow.
to be able to even talk about certain things.
I didn't sign anything. They got to know me, they asked me back all the time. And the same as you did. And so Kathy would ask me to come and do the medical part of her class as a representative of student health. Or when she went to her conferences in the fall, I did it all by myself.
Then I could leave and I knew Else would take care
Yeah.
of things.
But, you know, whenever you got PowerPoint presentations and whatnot, I was very happy I had to retire. I didn't have to retire because it was just, I'm more into people than into machines.
Yeah.
So
And you worked at Berkeley?
I worked at Berkeley for 7 years. Yeah, first as a nurse in every clinic under the sun, and I'm convinced that we had HIV patients before we knew they had it. I saw.
When were you in Berkeley? What
from,
years were you there?
68 to 75.
Yeah.
And then the last year I was there, I went to UCLA to become a nurse practitioner. Berkeley paid my way, and then I applied. There was an opening here at Student Health, and I applied. And you know, there were no nurse practitioners free yet to go other places, but I was not faithful to Berkeley because I really wanted to live in a smaller town. I grew up in the country. I lived in Amsterdam for 5 years, 8 years in Berkeley, 7 years in Student Health, and I was ready to go smaller. Ride your bike to work, kind of. And I was still in contact with some of the people in Student Health. Today I got an invitation for a soup dinner at Susan Kistler's house in December.
Yeah.
Sort of nice that they don't
Still a part of it.
forget. Well,
Still a part of the family.
yeah. But I'm not up to date on everything. more in the way of keeping up truly with sexual health. And what you guys are telling me, I'm thinking, oh, that's not mood, that's all
Right.
old.
Yeah.
So,
It's not.
They're
it's
asking
not-
the same questions.
Yeah, they're asking the same. They're asking the same questions they asked when I started teaching 17 years ago.
but
so.
you know, I also have, in looking back, I've been lucky. Twice, my son came home with a girlfriend. The first time she was at our house, she says, Lars tells me I need to talk to you about contraception. Now, for a first time meeting, and I'm not one of those sweetie pie people, you know. and right away, I got an okay. And one time I was at work and I got a phone call from my son, and he said, Mom, she took her pill 12 hours late. What do we do? And he went to Southern Oregon. I said, oh, don't worry. If she's been on da-da-da-da. And I hung up and I thought, oh, I gave the wrong advice. If I wanted to be a grandma. And then the wife, the woman he married, was the same thing. When she came for the first time to our house, she told me how many years she'd been on birth control pills, and that my son did not trust a person to take a pill every day and never forget, and always have to remind her, he felt. So they talked about it, and that was 6 years ago, and I truly started reading about intrauterine devices, how great they are. South America uses them all the time. China, when we had international students, you see it. All you read is how great they are also for new lips. So she still has one. I don't push grandparents. That's totally. I love babies, but I'm not in charge of their decisions.
It's probably a pretty good thing.
And another cute story.
You can introduce yourself in a minute.
My son was 8 or 9. He often came to the student health center. When they were kids, we had 24-hour service, and we had a doctor's room. And they rather had me come to work and bring the sick kid to work because they could be in the doctor's room, or my husband would take him and then I would take the other half. So he really knew my office quite well. So one day he came with a little neighbor boy, his age, he was not older than 8 or 9, and he opens a drawer. And Evan said, what's in that drawer? My son said, if you don't want babies, you use that.
On top.
Start them young.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
brilliant.
Good plan.
Well, hello everybody. I can't rival Elle's stories.
No, none of us can.
Yeah. But my name is Luke Kawasaki. I'm the external coordinator at the Pride Center. And basically what I do there is that I'm in charge of setting up Pride panels in different classrooms or res hall facilities or refi facilities, and really anywhere that requests one. I work with students to develop programming through the Pride Center. I have general office hours where I kind of just sit there and answer questions. People come up to me and pretty much use me as a free psychologist. So people come in and be like, so I got some deep questions for you. And I'm like, bring it on. I've heard a lot. Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about me. You know, a junior studying human development and family sciences. Yay! Obtaining the queer studies minor that's happening here at Oregon State. I'm a fabulous drag queen, so if you ever have...
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
Do you have a picture?
I do, not on my phone, but my phone's dead.
Oh.
But I have my laptop. I could show you all.
Do it.
We'll get there. We'll get there. There's still introductions. Find out what my favorite flavor of wine before you start asking for personal questions. It's reds. All reds. But
That's a color.
it's a flavor. It's a type. Don't tell me how to run my life guide to Greaves.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Talk about queer things all day. So, I mean, talk about, my perspective is very muchly skewed to gay, cisgendered male's perspective, because that's how I identify, but I've heard a lot of stories, and I can't speak to a lot of them, but if you have any questions about queer things, I can give you a pretty general understanding about it.
So do we maybe want to start with some of the things that we brought from earlier? Questions that were already...
Any questions?
Give me a question.
Oh, what do we got? What's up? Is that a good one?
How do you use a dental dam?
Oh, good, a practice one first.
Wow.
Why is that a practice one?
Because we
Oh, we
actually
demo.
get to demo.
Oh, we're
Oh, I
demoing?
see what you mean.
Well, I don't know about this yet.
Yeah, we're not
I
gonna
mean...
actually
Yeah,
demo.
Okay, me first. So this is kind of my purview. I don't know if you want me to show
Do it. Yeah, this is your.
Okay, so
I don't have a kit. I'm
I'm
kitless. I am kitless.
that's part of help educator.
I know.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a dental dam. Does anybody know what a dental dam is? Have you heard what dental dam is?
I know what it is, I've just never seen it.
Okay, well today is your lucky day. So this is a grape dental dam. This is a strawberry dental dam.
Oh, they're
They're actually just scented, not flavored. But we have flavored lube that you can then mix.
You've lost your
So
strawberry.
you can
What's blue?
blueberry. Okay, so a dental dam basically is a thin sheet of latex or non-latex. If you are allergic, we do have non-latex versions. And it is placed over an area that you would wish to stimulate. Okay, so it can go over the female genitalia or over the anus for what they call rimming. Okay, this is not to be confused to use on a male penis. Okay, see, it doesn't cover very well.
That's
And
like
it doesn't stay on.
It's like a shawl.
So,
It's like a shawl or a poncho.
right,
It's not
it doesn't work.
It doesn't have
doesn't
buttons
do
or
it.
clasps
So-
or anything.
We have flavored condoms for that, and there's a ton of those in the basket over there. Okay, so dental dam. Okay, it's a barrier between your mouth and someone else's body part that could contain fluids that you would prefer not to come in contact with.
And the interesting thing is that, as I understand it, the history of a dental dam
That
is
counts.
not this.
Yes.
Is I understand that that's what it is, but I think for many young people who are new to them and new to the term and new to actually seeing one, I wish it had a more sexual name. Because
True.
originally they were designed to be used
So you're
for
calling
dentists.
these sheer glide dams.
And you could only get them at dental offices.
Yeah,
in my time.
Oral surgeries, that's where it came
It was
from.
for oral surgery.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, when someone has surgery in a hospital on a certain body part, they cover the entire body except this little space where they're going to do surgery. That's the same thing they would do with these. They cover everything else so nothing gets contaminated and it's
Until
all
someone else
separated.
came up with a more creative
A more
thing to do
creative
with
way
these.
for them. Same thing with finger cots. Finger cots were originally designed in
Restaurants.
in restaurants
Restaurants.
and then hospitals.
Food service, yeah.
Food service.
Yeah, food service.
Yes.
So do you know what finger cots are?
Wait, let's stop. Wait,
Okay,
wait,
sorry.
just really quickly, one more thing with dental dams. So if you don't have these lovely dental dam, you
There's
know,
so many
even
ways
though,
you can make them.
yes, we have free ones, definitely, all over campus. We have 18 different locations in which you
All
can
over
find
campus.
these, right?
You'll just find them
Those are the
randomly.
condom hotspots. There are 18 different
There's
locations,
18
with
of them?
18 of them. So, and we have dental dams.
I've never
But
seen one either.
if you don't, that's because people take them and use them. But if you don't actually have a lovely packaged dental dam, you can use a non-lubricated condom cut down the middle, or you can use non-microwavable saran wrap.
Yep.
And it has to be non-microwavable because microwavable saran wrap has holes in it to let the steam out while you're cooking things. And obviously if it has holes in it, it's not going to do what it's intended to do.
Works
So-
really well in the microwave, but
Right.
you're not going to be doing that in the microwave, so.
Now, you say they're free. Where's the money coming from that funds it?
Grants.
Well, we have some grants, but most of it is basically Student Health Services paying for them. We buy them at, and we buy them at very, we get educational rates from the companies that we buy them from, and we buy them in bulk. So we get them at cheap
Bulk
rates.
dams.
So now Happy brought up finger costs. Does
Well, wait,
anybody?
actually, something that I find really interesting about dental dams. Within the lesbian community, we talk about like safe sex practices, and lesbians so often think that, oh, I'm a lesbian, I don't need to use a condom. condom, and I don't have all these
So then I
things.
don't need to use anything.
There's no safe sex protection for me, but realistically, like dental dams are so effective, so useful, that so many lesbians aren't using them, and so, and like even like also with gay men, you see them not being used in ribbing, right? It's one of those safe sex practices that just aren't being widely used.
Well, I would say another safer sex practice that I could be wrong, but I don't think it's done very often is fellatio performed on a man when he has a condom on.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's not done as
And
well.
so from my experience has been trying to convince, particularly students in resident halls, because they're 18, 19 years old, that there's a purpose to the dental dam, because if you're doing something oral and you want to put a barrier in between, it would never even occur to them to put a condom on a penis and then perform oral sex. So then they don't understand what's the point of putting a barrier between your mouth and something, because I don't do that when I give blowjobs, so why would I do it now? And so that's sort of the level of education that needs to happen that I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. And then also with lesbians or with any other couples who are using sex toys, that is also in terms of having safer sex, in terms of talking about proper cleaning and using condoms as well on the devices. So that's another kind of area that in terms of trying to educate folks on practicing safer sex. That's another area too. So Kathy did mention finger cots.
I did. It went out of turn.
We're actually changing the name to finger condoms because we've had a rash of individuals thinking that these are for very small penises. So we are,
Oh my God.
yes. So
Yes.
we are changing the packaging and rebranding these to be called finger condoms, so people can at least get a little bit clearer picture maybe of what they might be used for. So do you guys know why people would be using this in a safer sex practice rather than the restaurant?
No idea.
No,
Touch your
okay.
finger.
That's okay.
Well,
That's a good answer.
It's called finger play or digit play, but if you
Digit
have,
play.
yes, if you have like a hangnail or any kind of cut or sore on your finger, it's a perfect way for germs to get in. And it cuts down on transmission, so if you're participating in finger play or digit play, and then you touch your eye or your mouth or something like that, that it can also be transmitted that way. So, finger condoms. And those are also free at the 18 locations. And they come in different sizes, so if you pick up one of the little plastic and it has a big M on it, that means it's medium size, L is large,
Because
S is small. People have different size fingers.
Not so much
Cleaner.
penises.
It's also cleaner.
Yeah.
Some people use them just for sanitary purposes, which is why we also give out surgical gloves, but those are just so surgical. Right, yeah, so it's not very sexy.
Speaking of a surgical
Although they
glove,
come in different colors too, we've got purple ones now.
they're so cute. You can actually also take a surgical glove and cut it all around the middle and use that as a dental dam as well. I've seen that shown to me, and I was like, that's mind-blowing. In so many ways. Cut the fingers off, use them as cots, and then cut the glove, the hand part, and you got a dental dam. Multi-purpose.
And we do have surgical gloves at several of our sites as well, not all 18, because we only put them in one set of requested.
I had this gentleman at the Pride Center to come in and talk to me, and I was showing him the condom hotspot, and he goes, "Why is there a glove in there?" And I looked at him, and I just so blatantly said, "Fisting's a thing." And he just,
It is.
"What?" And I'm like, let me ease you into that. I'm sorry, I kind of jumped headlong into that. And
Something you'll be easiest to.
That was one of
for me, it was just like, oh yeah,
In your
fisting.
face.
Exactly. I went from like finger cots to fisting, and I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't lube that up. I didn't start off. I'm sorry. So it was a good little conversation about what your anus can do.
Luke, did you get consent out of that conversation?
He asked. I assumed that was consent.
So let's play another question game.
Would you like to take one now, Alice? Pick one.
Should I be embarrassed if I only last 1 minute?
She answers Kathy. Kathy?
Well, is this a man or a woman?
Right.
Oh, good question.
Good question.
No gender specified.
Yeah. Usually, that's not a question that comes from a woman. That's not to say that it would.
I know,
But
I
generally,
know.
yeah. Generally speaking, women are on the other end of the spectrum.
Amen, sister.
Do you want to say anything about that?
Well, I've been thinking about questions like that, and I truly am an old lady for a question like this, because if you're young, lasting 1 minute is little. When you're my age, having sex and lasting for 1 minute can hurt like hell.
Oh!
Well, I mean, if we are realistic about human sexuality and open about it, but
from a man's perspective, if you're a man, well, if you're a man that's like 60 years old and you can last 1 minute, that's like, you're a rock star.
I got it up.
No, you can come that quickly,
Really? So
you are a
60?
rock star.
you're take Viagra. Anyway,
No, that's what I mean, men in their 60s take forever.
I really
That's what I'm saying, so they're
go-
like, oh yay, it happened quick this time.
on this question, I truly would not answer a yes or no. I really would go deeper, because that truly is the answer. Why are you concerned about performance? What is your relationship? And I really
Right.
go deep, and then there is no answer to this question, black and white. You really understand, because why is performance so important if you're on the inside happy and feel comfortable and safe and the whole bit? So, but that shows my age a little bit also.
Well,
so-
not really, because I mean, the definition of premature ejaculation is one or both partners is dissatisfied with the length of time. There is no time frame on premature ejaculation. It isn't 1 minute, it isn't 5 minutes, it isn't 15 minutes, it isn't 20 minutes. There's no time frame. It's generally, if he takes 1 minute and neither he nor his partner cares that it was only 1 minute, then it's awesome.
Right.
Yeah, like who cares?
But another thing is that we're like assuming that this is all just like after penetration, right? That lasting 1 minute
Exactly.
like defines penetration as sex, right?
Right.
When the sex is so much more than just like penis and vagina or
Yeah,
penis and
that's
anus.
what
And, like there's so much more to sex than just the penetrative act, right?
Or I would even go so far as to say that I think for some people, if you can do whatever it is that you do with or to your partner and get them to reach orgasm in 1 minute, that's high five worthy.
Yes, that's what I was
You know what I mean? It's like, yes, I did it in under a minute.
I am that
I
good.
was that skilled.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. I mean, it's a communication thing with you and your partner. If a minute is enough, that's great. Because I talked to several students who were like, you know, if their partner doesn't go fairly quickly, they think there's something wrong.
Right.
They think there's something wrong with them.
I'm not
That they weren't
sexy.
good enough
I'm not
to
sexy
be able
enough.
to get them to get aroused and get.
become that
So
way.
there's
Yes.
that
Yes.
part too. So I do
Yes.
think it's a communicative thing between
Yeah.
the partners and kind of talking about if both partners are satisfied with that amount of time, then no, and if there's no embarrassment. But you know, if there's other issues, you might want to check with the doctor or things like that. But generally speaking, it's
There's practitioners can answer those.
sorry, yes, yeah, sorry, sorry.
No,
I
you're
mean,
fine.
I usually say practitioner.
No, I'm fine.
Clinician is what I usually say. But.
Well, and I would throw one more thing in there too, and that's why, I mean, the research is so clear, and most of you who know me, I make no judgments whatsoever. I don't care what kind of behaviors people participate in, as long as it is consensual and safe. So, but research does show the people who report the most satisfying sexual experiences are people who are in relationships where they feel comfortable being who they are, having those conversations, asking for what they want. And so what that does is it puts it, that those one-night stands, those friends with benefits, those people are a lot less likely to have conversations about what they want and what's okay and what's not okay and what feels good and what doesn't feel good. So you could have a couple that has been together for quite some time and they know each other really well, and they would have that I mean, they might set a timer. How quick can you do it? And they'll set a timer. But if you've got a couple that's like a one-night stand or friends with benefits, then they might both think that they were a complete failure at that event if it only lasted 1 minute. And so without those conversations and without that closeness to be able to have those conversations, it can seem like a failure when otherwise it wouldn't have been.
But if I was given that question verbally, I really would thank the person for being open enough to discuss it. Because it really takes, you have to get over a threshold to go and say, hey, so the question is good, and it's too bad it's not a person-to-person question and a piece of paper again.
And I get that in my question box in my class, probably every term. And when I go to the resident halls and stuff like that, I'll get that question too. So, and every once in a while, like particularly if I go to a fraternity or resident halls too, like someone will make up that kind of a question as a joke and say, you know, my friend so-and-so can only last 1 minute. Can you help him? As if I'm actually going to read the name, first of all. And so they try and turn it into a joke, and then when I answer it, I make it out to be not that big of a deal, and then it sort of diffuses the joke in the way that possibly one guy tried to make fun of another guy. So that helps too.
Excellent.
Are there any questions out there
Any other?
before we continue on with
Our huge audience.
Probably have
Well, on Facebook it said that like 6 people were coming.
Hey, this
They
is gonna
lied.
be later. You wait till like what?
1,
Spring term.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You guys are required to be.
I know. But it said 6 people were coming. We brought 8 with us.
That's
And
true.
you two.
You overreached.
We achieved our goal and more.
Sorry, I was just being more comfortable. Sorry. Wait, are we at, what's the deal we're doing now?
Attention's on you now.
Are you gonna
Yeah,
do
it's
one?
your turn.
You pick one.
Hey, all right.
Oh,
Okay.
She doesn't know the answer.
No. What is a healthy amount of times to masturbate per day? So who defines healthy?
that's what I was thinking. I'm like,
Depends on.
There's no answer.
There's really not an answer to that one. No, you won't go blind.
I think the
You will not grow
I think
hair on
the
your palms.
answer
Won't go
is
crazy.
the healthy amount of times to masturbate is however many times it makes you happy. You know, it's all,
Unless it's interrupting your daily lives, if you're skipping class to masturbate, then maybe.
Yeah. And that's usually what I say. I always say, you know, if you can go to class and if you can take care of all of the daily responsibilities that you have and still figure out a way to masturbate 15 times a day, I mean, you might get sore, but more power to you, I guess.
if you're masturbating that many times,
That's a
usually-
little
You will get sore.
You
yeah.
might want to consider fluid replacement.
Yeah. Drink water, use lube on wherever you're
Rehydrate,
masturbating.
rehydrate.
I would not recommend a dry rub that many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, sores.
We do give out a lot of free lube as well at all of those 18 locations.
Yes. Lube isn't just for intercourse.
And maybe be having a conversation with your roommate about
Yeah.
when they're going to be home.
If you're,
Yeah, it's, I always say
Yeah.
I always say it's totally inappropriate when you are living in a resident hall and you have a roommate in a resident hall and they're in the room with you, maybe on the bunk above you, and you're doing it. That's not really very fair.
That's why you get an apartment.
Right, I know.
There's one of those reasons.
I know. That's one of many reasons.
see me, I just think it's rude if my roommate doesn't offer for me to join in. I'm like, oh, you're masturbating. Can I help?
I know.
Film maybe?
No.
Can we do it like, I'll just sit next to you. You're watching something good. Like,
Send me the link later.
You want to put some money on this?
I'm putting the toast down.
I'll race you.
I'm glad that people knew that. We're friends enough to laugh at that. Oh, Misaki biscuit.
Luke?
All right, Luke, it's your turn.
Your turn. Pick
Pick a good one.
question. Any question?
Oh my god, this is so perfect for me.
Oh god.
Glow in the dark condom. Good idea? Lightsaber? Question mark. The answer to that question is yes.
Good idea.
We had a couple of really good lightsaber battles with Brandon already. My partner's a nerd, same with me, and so we were like, I don't know, 3 weeks in, and I brought over some glow-in-the-dark condoms. And I was like, in a galaxy far, far away. I won't go into the whole thing.
Feel free.
Oh no. I think just for sheer embarrassment on his factor, he was supposed to be here tonight, but he chickened out. Smart move on him, because I totally would publicly embarrass him.
So here's a question. You actually could videotape a lightsaber battle with glow-in-the-dark condoms and not identify yourself.
Not identify
Are there-
Is
yourself.
that a question or a statement?
I think it's both. I'm guessing.
I mean, every penis is unique, so in that aspect, you
But
would
in a
identify.
She was in a glow-in-the-dark
In a
condom.
glow-in-the-dark condom, I don't
How good's the
know.
camera?
Did you check it out from KBVR? No, I'm just kidding.
Doesn't sound that great.
They had good cameras over there. Sorry. Speaking of that, I'm going to do a shameless plug. Glow-in-the-dark condoms. We have ordered quite a few, and we will be having a glow-in-the-dark fun event.
Oh my god.
Winter term.
Wait, what?
With glow-in-the-dark condoms and other fun giveaways that glow in the dark at night.
Is this going to be
It's gonna
happening
be
at
at
that
night.
after dark? Or at Dixon?
I didn't even think of that, but hell yes! When is that?
Yeah, but is there
Start
anywhere in
at
Dixon
third.
you can make dark?
Well, no, we can just go outside. We'll do it out front.
Okay.
But it's going to be cold.
So,
It's winter time.
but we had to have to glow.
It's a little
Anyway,
windy outside.
we're gonna have a glow in the
Winter
dark
out.
event during winter term at night, so everything glows in the dark. We have glow in the dark condoms and other glowing.
You're gonna get
giveaways.
fingerings too?
I don't think they have the fingerings in glow in the dark.
Yeah, see,
Is
that's
that
my
what
thing
you
with the
said?
finger cough. They should make them textured. Like,
This is texture.
This is
right?
That's-
It's ribbed.
That's a
This
rib.
one's
I thought that was just like from the roll.
Oh, so it really
Is that
is like a
actually
finger
ribbed?
condom.
No, it's actually ribbed.
I
Yeah.
don't
Oh.
think it is.
Usually it's just like it's been wound so tight that it has a
I think that's what
line.
it is. Yeah.
It's
I don't,
actually
the finger cuts themselves are still kind of in
That's-
the, they don't
it
even,
looks ribbed.
honestly, they're still in the restaurant. I mean, we have to individually package these ourselves wearing gloves. They come in like, so they're still,
Yeah.
they're not in the, they haven't moved finger condoms. I'm trying to change the name. They haven't moved these into a sexual health practice.
So then in a restaurant scenario, you really don't need them to glow in the dark,
Right.
which is why they
So
don't
they really
have
don't
them
make
in
them,
glow in
you know,
the
they don't
dark.
make them
And that
in
makes
cute little
sense.
packages,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, you know, because like the dental dance will come in these
New
you know,
product.
like nice little, hey,
Yeah.
here we go, we can make some
New
nice,
product.
you know, dental dance like
We should
kids.
contact the
Although these
Austin
have
Business
been-
Program. Tell them they
Yeah, there we
need
go.
to glow in the
Anybody
dark.
not in the MBA program? We can go anyway.
No.
You know, these have been mistaken for fruit leather though, so we, you know,
Yes,
gotta be
they
careful.
have.
We've gotta be careful with these.
We're a little too chewy.
Yeah.
Not edible. Not
You know.
edible.
Darn.
I
So
know.
we sufficiently answered the glow in the dark?
The glow in the dark question?
It's a big yes. It's a
Lightsaber
big,
yes.
it's a big thumbs up.
Well, what I will say actually, on a
It's a big
different note,
lightsabers up.
those fire and ice condoms, they are not good for anal sex. They're not.
They're not really good in general.
Okay, I didn't. So see, I didn't know if they were good for like vaginal intercourse.
What are
but-
they?
So the inside of the condom, the male perspective, the penis section part, is ice. So it's a cooling sensation, right? And then the outside is a warming sensation.
But is it more like a burning sensation?
In your anus, it's a burning sensation. It's a definite. You need to go rinse out
Or imagine
sensation.
like cinnamon in your vag. Like,
Yeah, it just doesn't. It's just not
Yeah,
good.
that's not.
Good
Warming is good.
That's good feedback to get since we give those out at our condom hotspot
Really
event.
should.
suck.
They're not
My
that
favorite
bad.
phrase was cinnamon in your vag.
Is anybody tweeting?
That's gonna be my
Can we
favorite.
Tweet that.
Cinnamon in your vag.
What's our
Wait, that's what we
hashtag?
should have done.
Wait, what's the hashtag?
Yeah.
This is gonna be. Is this gonna be
Sexy talk.
Hashtag sexy
Sexy
talk.
talk. Hashtag tweet. Tweety.
I Instagram
Tweety.
that.
It's like,
I'm on it.
what did she say? Cinnamon in your bag?
Cinnamon in your vag.
Cinnamon in your bag. Cinnamon in
Hashtag sexy talk.
Hashtag sexy talk.
It sounds like the makings of a
And
great
2
song.
thumbs up for the lightsaber.
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 I'm on it.
All right. Sorry.
Cinnamon in your vag.
Yeah, I don't think KBVR is going to be able to cover these.
Yeah,
Unless we're
I
doing
know.
them at 10 at night.
I know. We really need to.
What's our filter?
Sorry.
What makes it
At
through?
least radio,
You can rebroadcast this
FCC is
later,
not
right?
going to really like that.
2 in the morning.
Yeah.
You can watch
The late night
3 a.m.
on KBVR.
Hey, a lot of students are up then.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
then we
what's,
have to start talking to them about time management.
Gosh.
It's the same.
What's that? Oh, sorry, did you have something?
No, let's get to another question.
Yeah, Kathy's your turn.
Kathy?
What are the side effects of anal sex?
Side effects.
Jake.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
No, women can answer that.
We can answer that too.
I've been doing a lot of talking.
I
That's
mean,
why I looked at
we're
this.
now assuming again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone has an anus.
Yeah.
Everyone is capable of it.
I do not.
Oh, Kathy Greaves does not.
She does sound like me.
I do not.
I did not.
I know.
I still deny that too, and I live with it.
I know.
Don't have one.
And it wasn't her.
Yes.
It wasn't her.
Nothing like that comes out of me.
I don't know. I mean, if it depends on what steps were taken before anal sex. I mean, if anytime you're engaging in anal sex, I always tell people, you know, go to the bathroom first. Make
What?
Sure oh. And I mean, not just, you don't just poop. Like, it's not just a poop. Like, pee first. You know, that relieves general discomfort. You know, depending on. Well, no, yeah. It presses on your bladder and creates discomfort. So always pee first. But if you follow those steps, usually there's no worry about like things coming out. I always hear people talk about the phrase, pardon the vulgarity, shit dick. You know, and that's a question. They're like, well, what about shit dick? And I'm like, well, you know, if your partner has gone to the bathroom first, it's usually not a concern. If it's a really big concern, you know, you can anally douche. I don't recommend it. It increases risks of damaging. But typically the only side effect of anal sex is maybe general soreness.
Fissures.
You can get that with vaginal.
Right, yeah, you could, depending on if it's aggressive or,
HPV.
right, STDs.
Yeah, if it's unprotected.
Right,
Yeah.
also, I will say that prolapsing is a risk, you know. Prolapsing is when your colon comes out, when you herniate. But that's typically, that's only in cases of really aggressive sex or not properly lubricated anal sex. That's not a usual worry.
Some of the things I talk to students about who are interested in exploring that, I encourage them to definitely use additional lubricant and to possibly start small
Yeah.
with like fingers or with finger cots and things like that, or even smaller, thinner sex toys to help kind of get used to that kind of thing before you try it.
Feeling.
Yeah, because there's
Inserting something in
Exactly.
there and
And
stretching that.
Yeah, don't just insert it. Also, like when you start, move it a little bit because the insertion and like once if it's static, it doesn't feel that bad. But as long as if it's moving, it's a different sensation. So that's why there's a difference between an anal plug and a dildo.
The only other thing that I would add is, I mean, I always, you know, you use additional lube because the rectum doesn't lubricate like the vagina does if we're going to make that comparison.
Yeah.
And, you know, to start small, and the person on the receiving end needs to be into it. They need to really want to do it. If they're really very hesitant, they're going to tense up,
Yeah.
and it's not going to feel good, and then they're not going to like it, and then they're not going to want to do it again. So it really is, all around it's a bad experience if the receiver isn't really into it. But as I understand it, an individual who is frequently on the receiving end of anal sex, like say for example daily, over time they can experience anal leakage.
Yeah.
But it would really have to be,
That would,
I think that a lot of times it's sort of more like recommended that if this is something that you enjoy, do it once a week. And then you can usually avoid anal leakage at that sort of level.
it also depends on how large.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
large what's being inserted into you.
Yes.
You know, if it's
If
something
it's daily
massive.
fisting,
Yeah. Oh. Grr.
daily rectal fisting,
That's
Grr.
Grr. No. Oh. Yeah, but I mean,
that's some girth.
yeah, but I mean, like if it's like an average size penis,
Mhm.
you know, there's not too much danger to that.
Yeah.
Really.
You want to add anything?
Yeah, I think the only other thing that I was reading about, like they have things out there on how to educate people on experimenting with these, but just you know, have differences in feelings, and you do kind of notice that things have gone in instead of out. It's some instances, and there can be, as with vaginal intercourse, there can be extra air
Yeah.
around as well.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that can be an issue.
Yeah.
Anal queefing.
Yes.
Which, as I understand it, that's a fart.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a name for that.
But, you know,
It's actually a real
just to
fart.
warn you that there
Whereas
could be
queefing
more
is a
of it.
vaginal fart.
Right.
Yes.
And that happens a lot with like.
Which are apparently cuter than regular farts.
Are they?
Oh, it's a queen. Whatever. But when you're farting, it's, I mean, whatever.
To be fair,
I don't know,
that's your
maybe
thing.
I think it's because the chances of a queef smelling bad are low, and the chances of a fart smelling bad
I
are
think
high.
that's another thing is that you have to take into no matter
Well,
with or without farting, anal sex comes with its own
Yeah, its
smell.
own set of,
Yeah.
yeah.
its own aromas.
as does vaginal
That's
sex.
vaginal sex.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
something you have to be ready for that. Like,
Yeah.
you have to know that that's a part of it, right?
So I'll be just a tad unprofessional. Did you ever read, oh my gosh, now I can't remember his name. So this is not gonna be interesting at all.
Don't say it.
Okay, moving on. Next
Hold
question.
on, I gotta, go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm just.
No.
I'll
It'll
try
come
to
back
think
to
of
you.
this
I was just kidding.
Another thing that I'd add to anal sex is that you should always like vary with positions. Different positions feel better than others to start with, and I can't say that like one position feels best to start with for everybody because what I like is not what everybody else likes.
Just
so
like vaginal.
Exactly.
Same
So
thing with
so
positions.
so start like if one
Yeah.
position doesn't feel good for you, it's okay to say, can we switch to something else? Sometimes folks really like to start on their back with their legs up. Some people like to lay on their stomach. Some on their side with their knee cocked up. There's so many ways that you can start. Doggy, bent over something. There's so many ways.
I've
So
forgotten it all.
I don't think you have.
Good share.
Tucker Max. Tucker Max is the author, and he wrote a book called I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell.
Oh, yeah. Good luck,
And
actually.
he is a complete drunken misogynist. But he's actually a pretty good writer. And so his book is just full of chapters of all of his college escapades, sexual and drunken escapades. But he has this one chapter on the first time he tries anal sex, and I was in tears. I was laughing so hard. He uses way too much lube, like half a bottle.
oh,
Yeah. There's more to it than that, but it's actually. Anyway, moving on.
So moral of the story, we should go read that? Is that what you're saying?
well, let's start with that
You know,
chapter.
well, here's the interesting thing, is I read like 2 or 3 chapters and I couldn't read it anymore because he was,
Whoa, what the-
sorry, my light hasn't I read 2 or 3 chapters of the book and I had to stop because he's such a misogynist. He clearly has no respect for women, and he was just trying to have sex with as many women as possible in every possible category. Scored Me a Fat Chick was the title of one of his chapters. And so I got to the point where I just couldn't read it anymore, and then one of my friends said, okay, but you just have to read this chapter. And that was the anal sex chapter, and it did have me in tears, I'm just saying. But it actually made a very bad movie out of it, too.
Okay. All right,
I
Alice.
thought we were done. Does giving a blowjob count as losing my V card?
Oh, V card.
The virginity card.
Oh.
Oh. You know, it depends which religion you belong to. If you can't have any touching or whatnot, in your mind, virginity is in your mind a lot also. I could not answer that yes or no. I would say no, because you keep your hymen intact. But there are quite a few real athletic women whose hymens are not intact, not due to intercourse, but just due to whatever. Sometimes girls are born with a hymen that's so intact, that's only a little tiny hole in it, and that you truly have to cut it. So when they start having periods, they can at least get rid of their flow. So I really would not answer this yes or no if I got a personal question like this. It's really what your spiritual thoughts are, how you think about it. To me, this is a good starting experimenting with your partner. But I would not call that. I would call truly penetration losing it. But
And see, I would answer that question differently. To me, the concept of virginity means sexual purity and innocence. And if you've had a penis in your mouth, you are no longer innocent. So that, and that's,
I hear you.
yes, and
I hear you.
penetration is a common sort of marker for the virgin, non-virgin line. Yeah.
I think that brings up a good point in terms of just what is your definition of sex?
Right.
And what does it include? You know, what kind of things do you consider to be sex and not to be, you know, I think that has a lot to do with it. Your personal definition and then maybe also your partner's definition. And then what you guys choose to participate in together. I mean, I think that would be, yeah, it's not everybody, you know, feels, you know, they have the same definition of what it is and what it includes. So I think that's another part of that as well.
And I would also say that research shows that most people in the U.S. do not consider oral sex as sex. And what I love is I know that this is going fairly far back in history, but the whole Monica Lewinsky, Bill Clinton thing.
That's why.
It was really funny because when he went before the grand jury and they asked if he had sex with her, and I still remember, I can picture him in my head. He's standing at, he's sitting at a table, sort of testifying, then I'm sorry, that wasn't it. He was at a podium doing a press conference, and they were asking him sort of what had happened. And he's standing at this podium and he's pounding his fist on the podium, and he says, "I did not have sex with that woman." And later on, he admits that she performed oral sex on him. And he said, "That's not what they asked me. They asked me if I'd had sex with her," and sex to him, that word meant intercourse. And right around that time, it was so timely, it was amazing. Right around that time, an article came out in JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, and they had gone out and they had interviewed hundreds of college students and asked them, "Would you say you've had sex if you did this? Would you say you've had sex if you did this? Would you say you've had sex if you did this?" And 65% of college students said, "I would not say I'd had sex if I'd had oral sex." And the country was livid with Bill Clinton because they thought he was a liar and that he had sex with her. And then this article comes out and they're like, you know what? If 65% of college students don't think that's sex, he's probably okay. He probably didn't lie to the grand jury. I mean, he might have misled them but they didn't ask, did you have any kind of a sexual relationship with her? They asked if he had sex with her. He said no. And the research validated his position.
Would you say that that's different now? Or-
No, I would say that most college students would still not identify oral sex as sex. I think they're along the lines of sort of the idea of technical virginity, the penetration thing, that's their idea of the virgin, non-virgin.
It depends
sort
on
of
religious
crossover.
background.
Yeah.
Also, if you're a true Muslim,
Yeah.
well, I don't know. Even though you may have your hymen really intact, but you know, you cannot do much safely, and being a virgin can be real spiritual also. So if you go just a tiny little bit too far,
Right.
Yeah.
because of it. So it's I'm actually surprised that we're still talking in 2013 about it's I mean, yeah, but also young students still have that. Now we aren't far enough yet that we can accept what's going on in the world, that we can do anything in high school and talk about normal things. Why are we so worried about it? Why can't we be open? I was born and raised in the Netherlands, truly strict. My father was more than he was not a minister, but he was like a Presbyterian minister. And we didn't ask any questions. We have no TV, just 2 radio stations, a Christian one and a non-Christian one. But it is amazing that currently on my iPad I get the Dutch news, and I watch just about daily a youth journal. They do such an incredible job of teaching the kids in school about human interactions. Not too long ago, I saw a segment on families are different, and that they showed a family in a nudist camp. And the interesting thing was you saw mom and dad and the kids from the waist up, but you did see the woman's breast. And then at the end of the program, the couple and their kids walked naked, but from the back, and they walked away. And I'm thinking, what a wonderful way of sharing with young people. We're all different, and this is how you can be different and the same as you, and happy, and do different things in the weekend with different families. I loved it.
And
now,
you would never see that on American television.
no, and the way it is done. And then at the end, they also do a survey. You can go to their website, and I don't do that. They go to classrooms and ask kids, what do you think? Is this, are you enjoying it, or is this embarrassing? And then they can vote, and then they can find out who was for it and who didn't like it. But it is such a nice way of explaining to kids, especially if you're a parent and you're not that comfortable with doing it and you let them watch it. I watch it just because I did not have any of that growing up at all. I truly respect it, the way it's done.
I have a documentary that my kids watch in my class. And
Students.
Not kids.
They're not kids.
to me, from an HDFS perspective, the word kid doesn't mean child. It doesn't mean under 18.
No, but it's not. Okay. Student. If you want to give,
I'm using HDFS language.
I hear you, but if you want to give students responsibility and responsible sexual activities and whatnot and understanding, the first thing I think, if you guys disagree with me, start calling them students. Because when you read about football players and the coach will call them kids and the whole bit about it, you can behave any way you want to when you're a kid. But if you're a student, you're more of a grown.
Right. I focus more on language of men and women as opposed to boys and girls. But to me, the word kid doesn't mean 5-year-old. Anyway, I have my students watch a documentary called Let's Talk About Sex, and it compares sex education in the United States to the Netherlands. And it's wonderful, because in the Netherlands, they actually do sex education.
Yeah, but not when I was growing up.
Yeah, not when you were growing up, but they do
But
now.
it is,
And it's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
I find it very interesting when students are learning or not learning in school. Yeah, anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
Wasn't me.
Yes.
Wait, you've got a lot of questions.
How do you stop an unwanted erection?
Cut it off.
Okay, now we're really.
Done.
And we're done.
Cut it off.
And what was that? Throw down the microphone?
Yeah.
Then you'll never have one again.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I can't. I don't know the answer to that question.
I don't think you can.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know.
You can think about things that will totally be a buzzkill.
Yeah, but sometimes it's not even like a mental thing. Erection.
I heard dead
sometimes
cats works well.
Sometimes it's a purely physical thing. You know.
I've actually had a number of young men tell me that they think about dead cats. And is that from some movie or something? I don't know the reference, but I've heard it numerous times that they think about dead cats, and then that makes it go away.
Never cats.
Never heard that.
No.
I know.
Yeah.
I've heard dead puppies, but not dead cats.
Okay, I keep thinking it's some pop culture reference that I'm too old to get, but like, no one's ever been able to tell me why.
I think it's more an internet thing.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Well, there you go, internet.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so we have.
Thanks, Reddit.
I guess okay.
You're not supposed to read them in the
I
head.
already read all of them. So.
Well, I know.
Okay. Wait, does anybody have any questions out there? Do you have any questions?
Our two audience
Anyone?
members, 3 audience members.
I was like, wait, there's 2 of us, right? I don't think so.
All right.
Do you have any questions?
Does pre-cum get you pregnant?
Yep.
Possible. Yes and no.
It could.
It could.
It's a possibility.
Possible. It's
Yeah,
possible.
It's possible, but it's not always probable.
And why?
Because it may or may not have sperm in it.
Why?
Because if a man has recently urinated, then it probably won't have any sperm in it.
But sperm can live up to 5 to 7 days. Yes.
Yes.
So if pre-cum could have up to 500,000 sperm in it.
Yep.
So yes, the potential is there. And you can still get an STI or an STD because you're still
Something
coming
else
in
is in it.
contact with fluid. So it's still interesting to me how students are more concerned about the getting pregnant part than they are the STIs. So because when you ask people whether they're using a hormonal method to prevent pregnancy, the majority of people are using something. But then if you ask them about barrier methods such as condoms, there is a significantly less part of the population that are using them.
Well, it probably depends on your partner. If your partner is like a long-term significant other and you've been tested, then
True, there are a lot of factors involved in that, and that's we're kind of delving into some of the research behind that. And yes, students tend to use condoms at the beginning of a relationship, but then if they've been in a relationship, but the problem is they have sort of arbitrarily picked some amount of time to determine that it's now safe
Yes.
to start not using condoms. But the problem is they're not picking them based on anything in particular, and whether or not they've been tested or not, and whether or not it is actually truly monogamous relationship. And so there's lots of things involved in that. And people can be, asymptomatic for STIs, but still transmitting STIs. So there's a lot of factors involved in that, and that's part of why we try to educate people on those things. But yeah, I think it's kind of an uphill battle. I think people are more concerned about the pregnancy piece than they are about the STIs.
I'm curious as to why there is pre-cum. Like, why does the body do that?
It's supposed to ease the way, sort of lubricate the way so the little sperms can go a little faster even and get where they need to go. And actually, we had a wonderful discussion. It was actually interesting. If you thought about what the female orgasm, physiologically, what our body was built for, why that was, is, contracting is because you're actually helping sucking the sperm up and in.
Yeah.
So, you think about those kind of things, you don't really, unless somebody says something or you're talking about it, you don't really think about what the whole anatomy and physiology part of it. But yeah, it just lubricates the way. Because, males ejaculate at 35 miles per hour. If they don't have that pre-cum, it's not going to go that fast. It's only going to go like 30.
Faster than the city bus.
Faster than a city bus.
Faster than the city bus.
Yeah.
Average city bus.
Super
27 miles.
soaker!
Yes, the superhero goes, yeah.
Superhero. And the last question that I have, so unless you guys want us to stop talking, better come up with some more questions, is it weird for my anatomy book to be a turn-on?
Not at all.
No, it's not.
So I have an interesting, I know, I don't know what else, that's a good answer. No, that's not
Nope.
weird at all. Done.
Is that why they don't learn it in high school?
That's why we don't teach anatomy in high school, it's just too arousing. So I had a student once, and he was very odd. I will say that. Well, here's as a side story. So I had a number of interactions with him, and this was like 7 or 8 years ago. I had a number of interactions with him, And then my graduate teaching assistant had a number of interactions with him. And then the two of us came together and had this conversation, and both of us had given him the nickname Creepy Guy. Just sort of put that in context, right? So he was really odd. And he came up to me one day and he said, is it weird or unusual or wrong or whatever to get an erection and get really aroused when I'm angry? And I asked him to sort of put it in context, you know, like what are you angry about? And what he brought up is that he was, whatever the subject, he was studying for his homework, and whatever it was that he was doing, like he was doing a math problem, and he couldn't get it right, he couldn't get it right, he couldn't get it right, and he was just getting so angry, and he got an erection. And he said it happened all the time to him. And I thought, I mean, there could be some level of, I don't know. Anything else? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, aggression, and I'm thinking, yeah. But that's sort of what that reminds me of, because anatomy books, this was totally not an anatomy book. And whatever the subject was frustrating him so much that it was causing him to get an erection. He said it kind of freaked him out.
It really isn't, like, isn't that what, like Playboy, their anatomy books?
Right. Yeah.
Everything's turned on.
Yeah. I mean, you know, how the Victoria's Secret catalog for my son's school. So,
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Our roommate does that.
do what? Victoria's
Our
Secret?
roommate.
Victoria's Secret's
My
catalog.
sister
Yeah.
Victoria.
It's very, yeah. Typical mom. Yeah.
Well, after that question, I have one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have gotten permission to ask this one. So not every time, but occasionally when I'm crying, when your boyfriend over here gets an erection, and we're not sure as to why that is.
Oh, when you're crying?
Yeah, like when like I'm emotional, like not when I'm like crying because of him, because that doesn't happen very often. Good boy. But like whenever I'm like crying or we're having like an emotional moment or whatever, we'll just randomly get hard.
Is that like the damsel in distress kind of thing?
It could
Maybe
be.
like a vulnerability thing, or
And when people are drawn to each other, they're drawn to each other for multiple reasons, and then those reasons could cross over. You know, you're concerned for her, you feel bad for her because she's crying, and you love her, and you love her.
And that mixes with your sexual
And that
attraction.
mixes with your, yeah. It would totally make sense to me.
bam, there's a reason.
So I mean, it really probably, I mean, it may be about sex, it may not be about sex, it may be a protective thing that kicks in.
Again, going back to testosterone, perhaps.
Yep.
If you're nervous, your body reacts in a different way.
We tried Googling
Thank
it,
you.
it didn't help.
That's kind of what we had theorized and
Okay.
everything.
My mind.
But it also cheers her up whenever it happens. 'Cause I'll just be like, you need to stop
That's
crying.
what it is. He's like, here, wait,
Yeah,
watch this.
exactly. It's like,
Watch, I can make my girlfriend stop crying like
It's a party
that.
favor.
I'll be like bawling my eyes out, and he's like, babe, just feel.
Just stop.
I just feel like you need to stop crying or I'm going to get hard and it's going to be awkward. It's just
Just don't cry in public.
Yeah, that wouldn't go over well.
I've learned not to.
You'll get over it, Bill.
Yeah, you'll get over it, babe.
Does anybody else have any questions? We are just a fountain of knowledge up here. Just saying.
I know I have more questions, but that's not coming to mind.
And you know what
That's
though?
okay.
We're gonna do this every term.
Yep, once a term, we're gonna do this
Yeah.
somewhere.
If we are invited back.
I know. I don't know that we brought them a whole lot of business. I brought coffee.
Yeah.
I bought
Well,
coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, locations haven't been determined. You'll just have to, you know, check the underground.
Oh, let's take care of Woody.
Okay, yes.
Oh,
Put
Woody.
Woody away. I would like to do, and we've already talked about this, I would like to do sexual spelling bee or sex bingo. So,
We thought about doing sex trivia. Sex trivia too.
yeah, sex trivia.
I mean, you can make any games.
Yeah, you can make any game, sexual.
Apples to apples.
Yep.
I'm already planning them for my next adult party.
Or sex monopoly.
I don't know that it's,
Dictionary, sexual dictionary works.
I don't know
very
that it should
well.
be called apples to apples then.
It won't be.
I think charades sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more you think about it, the better it gets, actually.
I'm not a fan of charades, but I would do that.
Awesome.
Keeping in mind that we want to try and broadcast this.
Yeah, that's going to be the
Maybe not that
problem.
game.
After 10, that's when I used to do the KBVR, the No Big Whoop. It was always at 10 o'clock. It was never before 10. So. And that worked well.
Cable for that? You need cable for that?
Yes. 26, 27? 26.
Yeah, same as fun, but KBVR.
Yeah, time to plug KBVR.
Yeah. Well,
So if there's not anything else, do you, one more? Oh, great.
yeah.
Bring them on.
Okay, so as far as this topic goes, because I'm curious, because I've Googled it and I've gotten like a mixture of answers, and I'm not really sure if there is a solid answer, but as far as female squirting goes, what is it? Like liquid-wise?
You mean what's the fluid?
Yeah,
It's from the Skene's glands.
but like,
It's very similar to prostate fluid,
Yeah.
actually.
I don't
It's
even-
just, it's basically the parts of the woman's body where there are the same parts that are analogous in the man's body. And so women can ejaculate just like men can.
Okay.
They ejaculate usually way more.
I've never seen
Oh,
You've never seen what?
women ejaculate.
So I've got a good video for you.
I
Short class.
For a while, it became very popular
Yeah.
to see, and then, we would be asked, where is the spot, where
Right,
is, and
yeah.
I've seen infected skin glands quite a bit, but I have really, truly, I could not answer that medically. I'm not,
Yeah.
maybe it's because I've been out of the business long enough.
Well, I would say it's still sort of a mystery.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but the gland is there. And,
It gets swollen.
Yeah.
The more you're aroused.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's the interesting thing too, is when a man ejaculates, it's like a teaspoon or a tablespoon. And there's something, I remember I went to a ASEC conference, and this was years and years and years ago, and I was
Best
still,
expo ever.
what?
Best expo ever.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And I need to go to another one. It's a conference, it's the American Association of Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists.
So it's a sex book.
It's a sex book.
Oh my God. We'll
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah. And so I went to it, this was probably, I don't know, like 15 years ago. And I was
I just
still
went
a
last
little
year.
bit mystified by the whole female ejaculation thing. And we watched an educational video of a woman ejaculating, and it was an enormous amount of fluid. And my question was, okay, fine, where is she storing that fluid? Like, I don't even think I could put that much in my bladder. And the glands cannot be that big. And so what they said is that the Skene's glands produce that fluid sort of on demand. Like they quickly, because otherwise that would be taking up space down there.
Like you pray for it and then it comes.
And so as soon as you start stimulating the G-spot, those Skene's glands just do, triple time and boom, and they produce all that fluid and then it comes out. Whereas for men, it's a much smaller amount of fluid and it's always just sort of there in the prostate and the seminal vesicles. And then when a man wants to ejaculate, those two glands let go of a little bit of fluid and there it is. And so that was my biggest question is, well, I don't understand where's that fluid stored? And it actually isn't stored. The second you start stimulating the G-spot, the glands start immediately producing that fluid. I mean, it could be a quarter of a cup, easy.
Yeah. Well, I think there's also just different amounts of fluid for, female lubrication, and it could be, you can have more or less just on any given day for a variety of reasons.
Right.
But the whole squirting piece, I think,
It's very different, yeah.
around that. But I think a lot of times women probably produce way more fluid than they think they do, but they don't necessarily always see it.
Like track.
Or
Right.
track it,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
As like in the man, where it's just like,
There it is. So, here, have my fluid.
So yeah.
Here's my present.
So present for you.
Here's my present for you.
Yeah.
At 26 miles an hour.
35.
Sorry, 35.
Although we're
35
still
miles an
in a
hour.
controversy
Still,
between
yeah.
30 and 35.
Well, you know what my deal is? I'm imagining the way that they figure this out is they
Radar
line
gun.
up a bunch of
No,
guys.
radar gun.
I'm thinking baseball.
I said radar gun. That's
Well,
a
yeah, but you
baseball.
have to stand in front of it. So you ejaculate. Well, when you said radar gun, I was thinking
Right
car.
at her.
You know, I'm like that's how they
Oh, you're
figure out
talking like a
how
cop
fast the
radar
pitcher
gun.
is pitching it.
Speedometer.
Yes, that's probably it.
I think of high-speed cameras.
Yeah.
Like high-speed cameras getting a lot of background.
I want to be the researcher on that.
I know.
And then just
And
film
do
it.
they
Just
bring a
film
bunch
it.
of guys in and line them
Slow-mo.
up? Like I don't know how they know this.
The O face in slow mo. Oh wait, don't put that on. Can you imagine? Watch the sex chick do an O face in slow mo. I'm dying